Bob is the BTP evangelist for SAP. So I'm going to pass it over to Bob. He's going to get us started with sharing how SAP customers are using SAP BTP as the perfect companion to S4 HANA Cloud.
Thanks so much, Autumn, and I really appreciate the invite. I'm only going to spend a few minutes on this, but I think it's crucially important that people realize BTP is absolutely part of core software at SAP. If you think about any application that's being delivered, that's the light blue area, right? It comes with a lot of stuff. So, I mean, like all of us, for example, if you're using Microsoft Word, nobody uses every feature of Microsoft Word. So, Microsoft Word comes with a lot of stuff. You use part of it. Same thing's true of SAP software. But the reasons why you would do software as a service are really pretty obvious. The devil is in the detail. It's less expensive. You can stay on budget. The logic is well tested across thousands of customers. So you're not, finding brand new bugs because it's run across a lot of different companies. The scalability is well tested because very large corporations run it. You know what the keep the lights on cost is going to be, and it's going to be a lot less than the 80% that I think all of us have been struggling with. And you have a very steady pace of evolution, and God knows the world is moving faster and faster and faster. And so when you think about us delivering a piece of software like S4, there's going to be a lot of features you don't use, but a lot of it's going to be covered scope. And then there are going to be things that are outside of that covered scope. Uncovered things that you need in your environment that may not be SAP standard. You're always going to have integration to your own landscape. There's going to be some things that you do that are truly unique. And this blue area is really what you need. And so part of it's covered by S4, maybe 80%. And that's why you buy off the shelf software. But there's always going to be things that kind of complete the picture for you. And that's what BTP is for. This is the spoiler alert for BTP. It helps you fill out the picture to make sure it works well for your environment. And of course, your requirements are going to change as the future develops. And the cool part is that BTP will already have those capabilities within it. So when you're ready, let's say you suddenly want to have your employees, check how many days of vacation they have left on, using their iPhone. They'll be able to ask Joule that question and have it come back and say, you've got 10 days left without having to work out all the rigmarole behind the scenes. That functionality will be part of BTP already. So that way, when you're ready to make that happen, it will be worked out for you. And so if you want to stay in lockstep with SAP, you got to realize that the core software that we're talking about is not just ERP, it's BTP as well. We're building ERP on top of our platform, as we are with human resources software like SuccessFactors, as we are with Ariba, as we are with supply chain stuff, as we are with CX stuff. All these applications are being built on BTP in a very modular way. The idea is that you keep your core clean by doing your extensions within BTP. And that's how you attach AI to your business processes as well. That's how everything stays well organized. And of course, BTP is a platform that runs on top of the regular infrastructure platforms like Google, like Amazon, like Azure. So what's in BTP? Well, it's really a set of matched services that are designed to help you extend SAP applications and integrate SAP to all the other stuff in your landscape. So it's SAP and non-SAP coming together to give you a better solution. This platform, there's roughly 65 matched tech services. If you want to go look at them, they're all available on our Discovery Center, which is found at sap.com/disco. It all comes with business content. The idea is that you can go fast. You can get greater time to value. We're consolidating all our business content at api.sap.com. And there's thousands and thousands of components to that to help you assemble things quickly. And when you are assembling, you need to have blueprints. We publish proven and tested blueprints to make sure that you can assemble the right services to accomplish what you want so that you can go quickly. You can reduce risk because you're not starting with a blank sheet of paper. And ultimately, you're simplifying the overall complexity so that you can keep that core software clean and go fast. If you want to remember one thing of why BTP exists, is so that you can adapt quickly and be ready for the future. And so really quick, how does BTP impact a business process? I think it's kind of a crucial context as Redwood's about to talk about how to make those things run much better. If you think about any process, whether we're talking about order to cash or procure to pay or whatever, right? There's a lot of steps. This is greatly simplified, but just imagine this is one of your big processes in your company. It turns out that those steps of that process run in different swim lanes. A lot of it might run in S4. But then there's going to be other applications that you're using. There may be things that you currently do that are manual. There may be things that you want to write from scratch because they're unique to your business. And so all these steps coming together to produce this process. And so the old way, the way we used to do it, is that you would modify things directly in your ERP. And we're trying to go from this tightly coupled, got to retest everything every time you upgrade situation into a loosely coupled modular approach so you can adapt better for the future. And so one of the areas that people use with BTP all the time is integration. A great example of this is Murphy. Murphy Oil, if you're not familiar with them, they're an exploration and production company. They had this near real-time operations center that was trying to keep production up by hustling people to the right places, but they were losing a lot of time. They would lose 1 out of 4 days just trying to figure out what system do we have to look at for what tasks, right? They were gathering 15 million tasks per year, trying to hustle the right people to the right place to keep production up. If you're familiar with oil and gas, lots of moving parts, lots of valves, lots of helicopters, right? They had to integrate 15 different systems so they could notice and prevent problems quickly. They were able to do that with BTP. Remember, connecting both SAP and non-SAP together. They gained this kind of like NASA control over their enterprise. They rolled it out in just 10 weeks. And as Rajesh puts it, it solved an amazing problem for them. They got 15 to 20% more productivity with the exact same workforce. Integration through BTP truly solved a business problem. Now, you may have another situation where you get a situation alert from the ERP that needs for something manual to happen, right? That may be an opportunity to introduce automation where it makes sense. Zulig had this problem during the pandemic. They had a real issue. The pandemic, they had a supply over 350,000 facilities in Asia with healthcare during the pandemic. And the truth was that their order processing was a manual process. Their order processors were getting COVID. So there's a huge surge of need and not a lot of people to process those orders. They decided to use our automation and blockchain to basically automate those incoming orders. They got an amazing side benefit. They had all these audits for all these different countries, and they were able to keep up with it because they were now accomplishing each order exactly the same way through automation. Ultimately, it helped keep them in business at a crucial time. So, an amazing example of automation is not for just cutting costs. It's a lot for trying to, take things that make sense and make them automated so that things run better. Now, if you're more of an industrial kind of company, you might have IoT streams that come in that then can go into predictive analytics within Business Technology Platform so that you can then decide how you're going to do that, whether it's going to be manual or it's going to be automated. You can use ML and AI to make sure that gets routed correctly. There's lots of user applications around portals, right? And all those things have to be mobile as well. A great example of this is what Exxon did with BTP. They have this environment where they encourage people to change jobs all the time. They wanted to create an application called Talent Exchange to help them do that. And they wanted it to work with SuccessFactors, their underlying HR software, right? And so the requirements were obviously not covered by standard software as a service in the cloud, right? So they basically did modern wireframing. They did all this user studies and feedback, and they rolled it out awfully quick. Today, 25,000 people change jobs annually at Exxon using Talent Exchange. And in fact, Margaret's like, I don't remember how we did this in the past because this is so crucial to our culture and how we do things. And so there may be another situation where you get an event notification where you want to write your own application using low code, no code, or any language, right? A great example of this is Vestas. Vestas builds a lot of these electrical generating windmills, and they service them worldwide, right? And so their CEO was not a happy dude. Bottom line is they'd underinvested in the technology for a lot of years. Every time you went to the IT department to ask for something, they said, sure, no problem, sir. We'll get it done in 2 years, or we'll get it done in 3 years. And that just wasn't good enough. The real issue was that they were way too paper-based. The inside of the construction trailer was covered in paper. If the wind blew the door open, half the project might be on the floor. And that's a problem because when you move one of these monster cranes at the wrong spot, it's a $12,000 mistake. And of course, there was lots of other smaller mistakes as well. The services side wasn't much better. Neil, this is kind of like you working on your house on the weekends. This guy would need a part to go fix this thing. Of course, the windmill's out in Timbuktu. He'd have to jump in his van, go driving to town, hook up his Panasonic Toughbook to the network to order a part, go back out, do it again, do it again. Home Depot's tired of seeing you 4 times in one weekend, but that's the way it worked for them, except it was thousands of miles across lots of services people. So they basically jumped on an airplane. They went to Cupertino. They did design thinking with their field personnel, not with their IT department. They came back to Denmark. They used this pre-built content that I've been talking about in BTP to go fast. They assembled the Lego kits to create these applications quickly to connect both SAP and non-SAP together. In less than 6 months, construction went from all paper to all iOS. Services, they transformed too. They took 50 different legacy apps on these green screen kind of laptops, and they made them 6 consumer grade apps on smartphones. They didn't even train people on them. They had KPIs built in where they could see how well the people were using it when they handed them the phone. It was an incredible story. They absolutely love to use it. They don't get training. The ROI was way less than a year, and they didn't have to transform their back office at that pace. They then were abstracted, and now they're working on their back office, right? And so then any application you write can return data back to the ERP via OData. We've got lots of capabilities within BTP to do business rules and routing and workflows and that kind of thing. Of course, chatbots are the future. You guys have probably seen Joule as it was talked about nonstop at Sapphire and all the webinars. And then we do process monitoring to help you find out how to improve your processes. My last story here is Acea. They provide electricity to the greater Rome metropolitan area in Italy. And, they basically had a real KPI problem. They had to post police at customer service desks to prevent violence because everything took too long. The consumers were very unhappy, right? They took a data-driven approach to figure out how to improve their processes. And just 1 year later, they were cranking. I mean, the COO was incredibly happy. They were able to get rid of that policeman at every customer service desk. And so that's kind of how BTP helps improve the process that's found within ERP. If you want to learn more about BTP and why it exists and why we invented it, I happen to have a video that was captured recently. It's about a 40-minute presentation that was done at SAP Insider, but I would encourage you guys to go to whybtp.com and check that out. Last thing, there's some great in-person customer-to-customer sharing events happening in September. 3 different locations, Chicago, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. It's free to SAP customers. So this is, if you're going to, the kids will be back at school. Summer vacations will be over. Please put this on your calendar. Go to btpsummits.com for a little bit more information.